Okay, let's get into something a little unexpected today. You know how sometimes the smallest thing, a tiny perceived slight,
Hmm.
it can just spiral, especially if there's already some, well, ill will simmering underneath.
Absolutely. And that's exactly the kind of dynamic we're exploring. We're looking at this really rich story from the commentary on the Dhammapada.
Right.
And it involves the Venerable Sārīputta, one of the Buddha's chief disciples, and this, well, frankly, surprising accusation against him.
And our mission here for this deep dive is really to unpack the narrative you've provided. What's this ancient story telling us about cultivating a really stable, really pure mind?
Exactly. And what can we learn about handling conflict or, false accusations? How do you find inner peace when someone's basically trying to cause trouble for you?
Yeah, it feels like a shortcut almost, using this drama to
Mm.
understand these like profound mental qualities.
Precisely. We're digging into the details from your source material to see what gems are in there.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Where are we? When is this happening?
Right. So the rainy season retreat has just finished. And Venerable Sariputta, who's, a very senior, highly respected monk,
A big deal, basically.
a very big deal. He's getting ready to go on a traveling tour. It's called a karika.
Okay.
And naturally, because he's so respected, lots of other monks want to go with him, so they're all gathered around.
Right. Hoping to join his group.
Yeah. And Sariputta has this specific way of doing things as he prepares to leave.
Okay.
He'd address the monks by name, sort of acknowledge their lineage, figure out who's there, maybe decide who's coming along, and send some back.
Kind of sorting things out.
Exactly. Now, the story zooms in on one particular monk, someone who wasn't very well known. The text actually calls him apicado-like, not prominent by name or lineage.
Okay, so sort of anonymous in the crowd.
Pretty much.
Uh-huh.
And this monk is standing there in this big group, and he's thinking, I really wish Venerable Sārīputta would call my name like he's doing for the others, before sending me back.
Ah, that feeling.
Yeah.
Wanting that personal acknowledgement.
Right. But it's a large assembly, and he just gets overlooked. Sārīputta doesn't single him out.
Oof. And that feeling of being unseen. It can be powerful, can it?
It really can. And according to the source, that specific moment, that feeling of being missed, of not getting the recognition he wanted, that was the trigger.
The trigger for what?
It led him to conceive ill will. The Pali term is agatha towards Sārīputta. Just like that.
Wow, just from being overlooked. That seed of resentment got planted right there.
And then something else happens that, waters that seed.
Oh, what's next?
As Sārīputta is moving, maybe making his way through the crowd,
Yeah.
the corner of his outer robe just accidentally brushes against this unnamed monk. A completely unintentional touch.
Okay, sounds minor, like something that could easily happen in a crowd.
Totally minor. But for this monk who's already feeling resentful, the source says, Tanapi agatha bantyeva. That accidental touch also bound the ill will tighter. It solidified it.
So he interpreted this accidental brush through the lens of his existing irritation.
Exactly. It wasn't seen as an accident. It was seen as another slight somehow.
So now he's feeling overlooked, and he feels like he's been physically slighted, even if accidentally. That agata must be really brewing now. What's
Oh.
he do?
Well, he doesn't confront Sārīputta then and there. He waits.
Waits.
Yeah, he waits until he sees the Sārīputta has moved on, past the immediate monastery area, the Vihurpakara Adakanto.
Okay, so Sāriputta's not right there anymore.
Right. And then he goes straight to the top. He goes directly to the Buddha, the teacher.
Whoa. Okay. And what does he say to the Buddha?
He makes a pretty shocking accusation. He claims that Sārīputta, acting all high and mighty like the chief disciple, deliberately struck him, hit him. And the language he uses is really strong.
How strong?
He says Sārīputta struck him as if breaking the drum of my ear. Kan sathieli bindanto via paripa.
Wow. Break the drum of my ear. That sounds like a violent assault.
Exactly. And he adds that Sārīputta then just left on his tour without even asking for forgiveness first.
So he's painting Sāriputta, known for his gentleness, as this aggressive monk who assaults people and doesn't apologize. It's quite the claim.
It really is. It sounds completely out of character, which is why the reaction of the other senior monks is so important here.
Ah, right. What did people like Mahamagallana and Ananda think when they heard about this?
Well, when they heard the Buddha actually sending for Sārīputta to answer this charge,
Yeah.
they immediately understood what was really going on. Their insight was sharp.
What did they think?
According to the source, they knew the Buddha knew Sārīputta was innocent. They realized the Buddha wasn't calling Sariputta for a trial, but rather to give him a platform.
A platform? For what?
For Sariputta to utter a lion's roar, a Sihana day.
A lion's roar? Like literally?
No, not literally roar. It's a term for a powerful, authoritative declaration. In this case, a declaration of his own purity, his spiritual attainment right there in front of everyone, a demonstration of the truth.
Ah, okay. So the Buddha wanted to use this false accusation as an opportunity to showcase Sariputta's incredibly stable mind.
Precisely. A teaching moment, really. So Ananda and Mahamoggalana, they don't hang about. They grab keys, open up the gates.
Getting everyone together?
Yep. They call all the monks, saying, "Come quickly. Venerable Sariputta is about to roar his lion's roar before the teacher." So this huge crowd of monks gathers. You can imagine the anticipation.
Definitely. The stage is set. Sariputta arrives, pays respects, sits down, and the Buddha asks him about the accusation.
Yes. And Sariputta's response is just, well, it's not what you'd expect.
He doesn't just say, nope, didn't do it.
No. It's much more skillful, much more profound. He doesn't directly deny hitting the monk, not at first. Instead, he starts talking about the state of mind of someone whose mindfulness of the body, kaiga tatsati, isn't properly established.
So he starts generally.
Yeah. He basically says, look, someone who lacks that deep awareness of their body, their actions, their mental state, that kind of person might accidentally offend someone, might bump into them, and then leave without making amends or letting the other person forgive them.
That's clever. He's framing it like, okay, maybe someone could do that if their mind wasn't trained.
Exactly. It immediately shifts the focus from a simple denial to the underlying principle, the quality of one's mind and awareness.
And then does he talk about himself?
Then he does. And it's incredible. He proceeds to declare his own qualities, the state of his own mind, using this series of 9 really powerful similes.
9 similes. Okay, this is where it gets deep. What's the first one?
He starts by saying his mind is like the earth. Paravisamajantata.
Like the earth. How so?
Think about it. People throw clean things on the earth, they throw unclean things on the earth. Dung, flowers, whatever. Does the earth react? Does it feel pleasure or disgust?
No, it just receives everything equally.
Exactly. Sariputta says his mind is like that, utterly unaffected by honor or dishonor, praise or blame from others. It just receives without reacting.
Wow. Okay. That's a high bar. What else? Water, fire, wind?
Yes, those two, illustrating similar stability. But then he uses some really striking ones, like a dust-removing broom.
A broom.
Yeah. Or a Kanchola boy that's like an outcast figure in ancient India, someone often looked down on.
Okay.
And a bull with its horns broken.
Those seem humble, almost self-deprecating. What do they signify?
They point to that same profound equanimity. A broom is used for dirty work. It doesn't complain. The Kanchola boy might face constant contempt, but could embody non-reactivity. A bull with broken horns isn't aggressive. Maybe it's treated more familiarly or even carelessly.
So his mind doesn't react whether it's treated harshly, ignored, used for unpleasant tasks? It just remains stable.
Precisely. Unperturbed by the external treatment.
That's amazing. Are there more similes? You said 9.
Yes. He also talks about his relationship with his own body. He says he feels disgust towards it, viewing it like a snake carcass, a ahikupa, or other repulsive things.
So deep awareness of the body's unattractive nature, its impermanence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows his detachment from identifying with the physical form.
Yeah.
He sees it clearly for what it is, without delusion.
But hang on, isn't that contradicted by the next simile? Something about a cooking pot for fat. Meta Catholica.
It seems like a contradiction, but it's actually a paradox showing balance. Yes, he sees the body's true nature, the ahikupa, but he also protects it, cares for it, like a precious pot used for storing fat.
Why? If he's detached?
Because it's the necessary vessel for practice. It's pragmatic care without clinging. See the body's nature clearly, but look after the instrument you need to attain liberation. It's a really nuanced point.
So this whole response, it's not just denying an accusation, it's a full-blown declaration of his state of liberation.
Absolutely. He's laying bare the result of years, decades of profound spiritual practice. And the impact was immediate. As Sariputta was speaking these words, using these similes, the source says the great earth itself trembled.
The earth trembled? Seriously?
Yes. It shook right up to the water's edge, apparently, and it trembled 9 times. Once for each simile he used.
Whoa. Like the universe itself was confirming the truth of his words.
That's certainly the implication in the story, a cosmic validation.
Incredible. How did the monks react? The ones listening?
It was intense. The ordinary monks, the ones still on the path of Puthajjana, they were deeply moved. Many couldn't hold back tears.
Why tears?
Especially when he used those similes of profound humility, the broom, the cancela boy, the pot. It seemed to strike a deep emotional chord about the nature of humility and detachment.
And what about the highly realized monks, the arahants, the Kassava?
They experienced something different, a sense of dhammasavega, profound spiritual urgency or inspiration. Hearing such a clear articulation of the liberated state from someone like Sārīputta seemed to energize their own realization.
So a powerful moment for everyone. But what about the accuser, the monk who started all this?
Ah, yes. For him, the consequence was immediate and quite physical.
Physical.
As Sārīputta was making this declaration of his utter purity and stability, the source says burning heat arose throughout the accusing monk's entire body.
Burning heat, like he literally felt like he was burning up.
That's how it's described. Like the sheer weight of his lie, confronted by the undeniable truth and purity radiating from Sārīputta, became physically unbearable.
Wow. So what did he do then?
He couldn't take it. Right then and there, he threw himself down at the Buddha's feet.
He confessed.
Immediately. He confessed everything. Admitted he'd made a false accusation about something that just didn't happen and to put up dosa. And he begged the Buddha for forgiveness for his transgression.
So the truth is out, the lie is exposed, the accuser confesses. What happens next? This is already quite a story.
Well, what happens next is maybe the most astonishing part of the whole incident.
Go.
The Buddha turns to Sārīputta, and he instructs Sārīputta to forgive this monk, who he calls a foolish man, Mokkapurisa.
Okay, that makes sense. Forgive him.
But the Buddha adds a reason. He tells Sārīputta to forgive him so that the monk's head won't split into 7 pieces.
Split into 7 pieces? What?
Yeah, the commentary explains that falsely accusing such a highly realized being carries incredibly severe karmic consequences. Forgiving him would avert that immediate dire result.
Okay, so it's serious. The Buddha tells Sārīputta, forgive him or he's in big trouble. So what does Sārīputta do? Just nod and say, okay, forgive him.
His reaction is just breathtaking, truly. He doesn't just grant forgiveness. He immediately sits down on his heels, puts his hands together in respect,
Yeah.
and he asks the accusing monk for forgiveness.
Wait. Sārīputta asks the guy who just falsely accused him
Yeah.
for forgiveness.
It's almost unbelievable. The source quotes him saying, I forgive that venerable one, venerable sir, and may that venerable one forgive me if there's any fault on my part.
If there's any fault on my part. But everyone just heard his declaration. They saw the earth tremble. They know there was no fault on his part.
Exactly. He offers forgiveness freely, but then he immediately equalizes the situation, humbling himself completely, seeking forgiveness in return, even though objectively he did nothing wrong.
That is. I'm trying to process that level of humility and non-reactivity.
And the other monks were just blown away.
The text says they marveled at his anamagratat, his not low quality, his sheer excellence.
I bet.
They couldn't believe he showed absolutely zero anger, zero ill will towards someone who just publicly slandered him with a lie. And then for him to be the one asking for forgiveness.
It really demonstrates that freedom, doesn't it? Freedom from defensiveness, from pride, from resentment, just pure equanimity and compassion.
And the Buddha overhears the monks buzzing about this, and he confirms what they're saying. He basically says, you're right. It's impossible to make someone like Sārīputta angry or generate ill will in him.
So the Buddha underlines the point. Sāriputta's mind is beyond that now. Yes. And he brings back those powerful similes. He says, the mind of Sārīputta, monks, is like the great earth, like a city gatepost and like a clear water lake free of mud.
The earth, the gatepost, the clear lake.
And then connecting it all back to the core teachings, the Buddha recites a verse, a gatha.
What does the verse say?
Like the earth, he does not react. Like a city gatepost, such a steadfast one, tadi, well conducted. Like a lake without mud, such a one does not experience samsara.
Okay, so let's unpack that verse a little. Based on the source's explanation, the tasato, the earth part we get receives clean, unclean, no reaction. What about the gatepost?
Right, think of a sturdy post at a city gate. Kids might hit it, maybe spit on it. Others might honor it, put garlands or perfumes on it. Does the post care? Does it react with anger or pleasure?
No, it's just a post. It's immovable, unaffected.
Exactly. So the tadi, the steadfast one, the perfected monk, is like that gatepost. They are utterly unmoved by the 8 worldly conditions.
Yes, the 8 worldly conditions.
Yeah.
Gain and loss, fame and disrepute.
Praise and blame, pleasure and pain, all the ups and downs that buffet us around.
Right, so the perfected one, the Katsava, who is Tatati, steadfast, and Sabbata, well-conducted. They just don't react.
They don't react with attachment when they get gain, fame, praise, or pleasure. And they don't react with aversion when they face loss, disrepute, blame, or pain. Their mind remains stable, equanimous, like that earth, like that gatepost.
And the clear lake without mud.
That's about the inner state.
Yeah.
The mud represents all the mental defilements, greed, hatred, delusion, all that stuff.
Yeah.
In the perfected one, that mud is gone. The mind is completely clear, pure, unobstructed.
Like a perfectly still, clear lake.
Exactly. And the conclusion of the verse. Such a perfected one, a tati, doesn't get reborn. They don't experience samsara anymore, not in good states, not in bad states. The whole cycle of suffering is broken for them.
Wow. So this whole incident, starting with a perceived slight, ending with this profound teaching, it must have had a huge impact on the monks gathered there.
A massive impact. The source material concludes by stating that at the end of this discourse by the Buddha, an incredible 9,000 monks attained arahantship, the highest state of liberation right then and there, along with deep analytical knowledges, paisampita.
9,000! That's staggering, all sparked by this one event and the teaching that followed.
It shows the power of a living example like Sārīputta and the clarity of the Buddha's teaching when grounded in such a real-life demonstration.
So, wrapping this up, the core takeaway here is this picture of a mind characterized by profound equanimity, just utterly stable, unshaken by anything external slights, accusations, praise, blame, gain, loss, the works.
It really gives us something to reflect on, doesn't it? I mean, think about how quickly we react, feeling overlooked, that accidental bump, someone saying something untrue about us.
Yeah.
How fast does our own internal state get churned up?
Yeah. What would it actually mean for us in our day-to-day lives to try and cultivate even a fraction of that non-reactivity? To not be so swayed by praise or blame, by whether people see us or ignore us?
This story provides such a powerful, maybe even intimidating glimpse into what that kind of inner freedom looks like. It's not just about being calm when you're alone meditating. It's about navigating the messy, difficult interactions with others with stability and compassion.
So maybe the final thought for you listening to this is to consider that moment of forgiveness. The sheer power, the inner strength required, and the immense freedom gained in having a mind so stable, so vast, that your immediate response to being publicly slandered is to offer forgiveness and even ask for it in return. What does that kind of radical non-reactivity and compassion tell us about what true inner strength really is?